Welcome back to New Rockstars. Kevin Feige's favorite upcoming Marvel movie is Fantastic Four, so should it be ours too? Marvel President Kevin Feige made an appearance on the inaugural episode of the official Marvel podcast and confirmed that we were right when we looked too hard at the skyline in the Johnny Storm 4-4-Day poster for Marvel's Fantastic Four to deduce that this movie will be set in an alternate universe 1960s New York. But will this movie also include people like Pharaoh Rama Tut, Franklin and Valeria Richards, Agatha Harkness, and perhaps even nods to an alternate universe Spider-Man?
Yeah, stop. Refrain. We're gonna get into it. This is the Sneak Peek, the weekly show on New Rockstars, where we look ahead to the future of fandom. I'm Jessica Clemons, and it's crazy to be sharing my room with someone I normally do virtually. It's Erik Voss.
I'm so sorry, but I came back down to Burbank to visit this week because we had some fun meetings we had to do in person, and we did a 5K. So I'm especially sorry to you, Jessica, because I did not have a chance to shower before doing this.
I did not run. I didn't want to.
It's hot.
Thank God you did. God bless your heart.
It needs all the blessings it can get because it was on overtime. And after you cross that threshold of 35, your heart's like, we don't do this anymore. We learned a lot this week. It was actually pretty fascinating because perhaps the biggest nerd news came from Cleveland, of all places, with the Superman set photos that were coming out. And it honestly just seemed way too coincidental because Kevin Feige's like, I'm not going to let our director that used to be over on our side steal all the thunder, and then the next day dropped a ton of news about Marvel's Fantastic Four.
I didn't even think about that it was like a day apart from the Superman photos.
It was, but I think they already had this podcast in the works. But just to kind of catch everyone up here, this is the official Marvel podcast. And this first episode was co-hosted by Langston Belton and Preeti Chibber. And they did a really great job. But I got to say, the format of this podcast is just because, like it's anything. Lucasfilm has this too. It's so PR driven and scripted. But you know what? It's gonna give us a ton of information. Gonna have some rotating hosts. Maybe some people. I don't know this for sure, but I think it's some people that we are friends with who might be co-hosting this.
That's wild as hell.
They haven't announced it yet.
That's interesting because then so the Wakanda Forever podcast was completely different from what the Marvel podcast
is. That was a limited series, and that was also really good.
I loved that podcast.
Oh,
that
so
podcast.
good.
But are they going to be doing like the same kind of deep breach of knowledge stuff?
Similar, yeah. That was more, I mean, that needs to win awards because they just went deep into the themes and the connection to Chadwick and everything that they did to, it was just a beautifully edited podcast too. This is more of like a studio announcement bulletin.
Okay.
Kevin Feige was their first interview subject. And I think it's important for us to look at this because it's going to be a direct mouthpiece from the studio in ways that we rarely get. Most of the time it's like someone pulls Kevin Feige aside on a red carpet. This is his chance every week to put out some specific talking points and help control the narrative and do some expectation management. And so as much of it may be as a rough chew to get through some of these episodes, we're going to listen to all of it for you and like recap the important stuff you need to know. And this first episode, it was just interesting to hear Kevin Feige talk about the Fantastic Four, because I think that not only gives us a preview for San Diego Comic-Con next month, but you know, it seems like Kevin Feige directly shouted out YouTubers like us. And he said that we made some, quote, smart observations about that Johnny Storm poster. Let's roll the clip.
And there was a cityscape in the corner of that image. And there were a lot of smart people who noticed that cityscape didn't look exactly like the New York that we know or the New York that existed in the 60s in our world. And those are smart observations, I'll say.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. I thought that was nice.
You could have just said Jessica Clemons.
I don't think other big YouTubers did like a thumbnail with that poster, so I assume he's aware of us.
He absolutely does, especially because Amon Vellani loves us, and he is obsessed with making sure she doesn't tell everything.
He said 616 to her. He was so mad when she said it's not 616. Oh boy, you know he got that notebook that she had and just lit it on fire in the corner of her bedroom and said, "No one will see this."
God forbid. I bring God in this podcast twice now, or in this video twice now, so I will stop.
We could afford to bring him more into our podcast, right? Because he's like, I have so many opinions about who Mephisto is, but he knows who Mephisto is, right? He's like that son of a bitch. Fallen angel. So Kevin Feige revealed that this film, Fantastic Four, is going to begin production on July 29th of this year. And he said that it is the title he's most excited for. Now, to be clear, He did not say that for Agatha. He did not say that for Captain America 4. He did not say that for Thunderbolts Asterisk. He did not say that for Blade. He did not say that for Daredevil Born Again. And what's interesting is if you've been following Kevin Feige as much as we have, he never does this. Anytime you ask him what's your most like excited, anticipated title, he'll always say what the next thing is. Yeah. Like before, Secret Invasion came out, we were like, Kevin Feige, what's your favorite Marvel title coming up? And he's like, definitely Secret Invasion. And like, he never skips titles, but he wants us to be excited for Fantastic Four. He's skipping all these other titles. He is pointing at the stands and he said, that's going to be the big movie of next summer. And I think that's going to be a crucial movie for him to get right. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that, Jessica. What do you think that says to where he's like, definitely go see Cap 4, definitely go see Thunderbolts, but Fantastic Four.
Well, I think Mr. Fantastic plays a role. Well, the Fantastic Four in general plays a role in Marvel history lore so deep and has yet to come to the MCU. We've had the other ones, which go watch your breakdowns of them. They're so funny. Yeah.
That's what I was going for.
Oh, no. We've all been waiting for this. It's been a long time coming. Also, unlike the X-Men, I think Fantastic Four has their own kind of vibe. So for me, I'm personally more excited for X-Men to come over, but I understand why Kevin Feige would choose the Fantastic Four because it's the Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. You can't have Marvel without the Mr. Fantastic. That's insane. He's connected to everything.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is the connection point. He is like a nexus figure for the Marvel world in ways that Tony Stark used to be, and that connective tissue is what has been missing in the recent films, is everyone kind of seems like in their own corner, in their own little sub-pocket universe, and I think he needs to have someone who's like friends with everybody, who knows everyone, which is interesting because he's going to be in an alternate universe, is what Kevin Feige confirmed. But I think in that alternate universe, he is friends with everyone in that alternate universe, which is why I think we're going to get a lot of like fun alternate universe, other Avengers, other like 60s superheroes.
Oh, that's fun.
That existed, and like Spider-Man existed in the 60s. There was an old version of Iron Man, an old version of Captain America who existed in the 60s, and I think all these guys can like live in this other universe, and that's just gonna be really fun to see. But also, I think he feels really confident about the cast.
Oh, 100.
Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Evan Moss-Bachrach, who's having his moment with The Bear Season 3 now out. Joseph Quinn recently had a statement about Fantastic Four while promoting A Quiet Place Day 1, and this quote comes from comicbook.com. Roll the clip.
The script is amazing. The director's fantastic. The intention behind it is we're going for it.
We're going for it. What do you think he means by that?
They're going to kill the thing.
They're going to kill Ben.
They're going to kill Ben. They have Galactus.
Yes.
So that's a huge deal to be bringing that in. Oh my God. I think there's just so many moving parts to it. And if they're going for it, I'm like, you're either going to jump into a different dimension or something bad is going to happen that's huge. Like if they get off their planet and Galactus does consume it, I don't know where you'd go from there. Mm-hmm. I feel like saying that means we're going to heighten it to a degree that feels like you can't go back down, but you can. You just can't expect it to. So I'm trying to think of what crisis is major enough to be like, we're going for it.
I think we're going for it means Galactus is going to take a bite out of this planet.
He's going to take a chomp.
Yeah, I
100.
think like they're going to destroy this Earth.
Also, we never get to see Galactus actually like consume our planet. He always consumes every other planet, but luckily we get to distract him and go somewhere else. But I'm like, no, what if he did just consume us? What the hell would happen?
Right. I think they're going to fail. We're going to watch that beautiful postmodern futurist skyline just get devoured. And I think that's just going to be such a spectacle. And I think that's what Kevin Feige's most excited to put on the big screen.
And that theme would also still follow with like Deadpool and Wolverine, where they're both feeling like they destroyed their lives.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be where we are like dealing with like, oh, everyone's becoming a dad. Now the new phase is like, I failed everyone. I am the reason for everybody. And it never is. It's never your fault.
Right.
It happened.
Yeah. And we have Ralph Ineson playing Galactus. He's we've seen him in like
The
everything.
Witch.
He was in The Witch. He was in that Gareth Edwards movie, The Creator, recently.
Oh, yeah.
He's just got the best voice. He's gonna be so great. So this official Marvel podcast first episode features a Marvel gaming segment after this, but then ends with kind of a need to know info segment about the Fantastic Four comics history. And while it's a little like factual and just kind of like a number of factoids, knowing that these factoids were actually curated by Marvel Studios internally as details that we must know about the Fantastic Four before next summer's movie, before Comic-Con, it just suggests that these might be important clues. Like, these are the same people who crafted the QR code into Herbie, and that led to the Life Foundation website with those 5 specific Fantastic Four comics that we need to read before this movie. So I think these factoids are also pretty telling about like how they want to frame our expectations and do some expectation management. And that includes, like, they went character by character, and they made sure to mention that Sue Storm has a degree in archaeology. And when you're thinking about Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, there's a lot to her character, but the fact that they singled out that she has a degree in archaeology, does that mean that their history with ancient Egypt and Pharaoh Rama Tut could come into just in the first act of this story?
I feel like there's other things that she did that are like with archaeology.
Plenty of other things.
Because wasn't that like their square cube that they could transport different dimensions? Wasn't that found? It was Kang's. Wasn't it Kang's, or did Kang steal it from them? It was something like that, but I thought it was found, and that could be like what she finds. It's a loose thinking on my part. I cannot remember that comic for the life of me, and I'm so sorry, you guys, but it's something like that. I feel like she's gonna find something that does either lead to Rama Tut or Kang or someone else. Some horrible big bad.
I don't think it's gonna be a Kang story.
No.
But I don't know if like the Pharaoh Rama Tut they met. I think what they're gonna do is follow the 1961 period where when we first met Pharaoh Rama Tut in the Marvel Comics, it was not decided that he would be a Kang variant. That came way later, decades later, when they retconned him. So I think as far as these Fantastic Four are concerned, they just knew of a guy named Pharaoh Rama Tut and like a time traveler that maybe they're like, we think his name might also be Immortus, but like that's about as far as they get. And then later on, they're gonna realize, oh, there's actually a Nathaniel Richards descendant of ours who is actually the same guy, and he has all these other variants throughout the timelines. Specifically, they also single out Reed Richards being a student of quantum physics, and then anytime Marvel Studios says the word quantum, I think they have something in mind with that. That's kind of a quantum sort of thing.
Could their world still have Hank Pym?
Oh, for sure. A 1960s Hank Pym, right?
Yeah.
So the Ant-Man of their universe would be Hank Pym, not Scott Lang.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we're going to get a younger Hank Pym. So they made sure to point out Ben Grimm's identity of the Thing is initially kind of a point of shame for him.
Which it was.
And I think that's going to be an important thing to this movie. And Evan Moss-Backrack on Jimmy Kimmel said that like the fact that he comes from Yancey Street, based on Delancey Street, is going to be like an important part of like his character's DNA. And I think they're not going to hide away from that. And the fact that like Reed Richards felt some guilt that, you know, one of them just cannot hide his powers, that he just has to walk around looking this way. So they create the Fantastic Four as a way to make him feel better. And they all have these monikers so that he can feel pride about what he is.
So they call him the Thing?
Yeah, I know. They're going to have to come up with some good explanation for why he's the Thing.
He's going to have to come up with that name himself.
Yeah, if he decides.
And it sounds like a name that Evan would make up.
Yeah. Every video I put on YouTube, I'm obviously wearing clothes. Like, it's just this weird little thing I do because I'm not a fitness vlogger, and also clothes are great, especially when they're comfortable and they look good, which is exactly what you get when you buy clothes from Cuts Clothing. Ooh. Cuts Clothing doesn't do the whole splashy logo thing. It's just a simple X on the seam to let you know that your shirt's up to snuff and nothing more. That means that you can wear Cuts Clothing no matter what you're doing. Working, playing, working out, going out, Cuts has you covered. And if you're the type who likes all of your clothes to be comfy, Cuts Clothing has a ton of options for you, from hoodies to pants to joggers and jackets. All of Cuts Clothing's products are made with the same attention to comfort and fit, and their minimalist style makes them the perfect addition to your wardrobe. If you go to cutsclothing.com now and use code ROCKSTARS at checkout, you can save 25% off your purchase today. Once again, that's cutsclothing.com with code ROCKSTARS at checkout to save 25% your next purchase. They also, walked us through this podcast walked us through the Fantastic Four classic origin of how they were caught in a cosmic storm and radiation gives them powers. And I think they put that in this podcast because they know that there was a 2005 Tim Story movie and there was the 2015 Joshua Trank movie, and they just want to clarify that like they just hijack a space shuttle. That's all it is, because the government pulled their funding. They go up, there is a cosmic storm, and they get hit with radiation. And I think anytime you hear Kevin Feige in interviews, they're going to use those specific terms, cosmic storm and radiation. And you made a video in this past week about this, Benedict Cumberbatch talking about the storm that we'll see in Avengers 5. And could this be linked to that storm?
Yeah, that's true. This could be the storm. Because I made a theory that it was like, here's a million things that are physically called storm, but then also it could be this one. But watch it end up being this storm, or this freaking storm, sorry.
You could say it might be a incursion
Stop, we're
that
bleeping
is
all of
actually causing this storm to come through, and it's an incursion rift that bleeds in this radiation, and that's what hits them and gives them their powers.
This shoots July. This shoots this summer.
Yes, July, the end of the final week of July.
It's quirky. This shoots the end of July, and then we're doing Avengers 5 in 2025.
They're shooting Avengers 5 in
Yeah.
2025. Got it. Yeah, that's still coming out in 2026,
Yes.
it sounds like.
I only want to believe that the storm is connected. The
Yeah.
storm in Avengers 5 is connected to the Fantastic Four, because I do want to see Fantastic Four in Avengers 5.
Yeah. They also made sure to note that Spider-Man, originally appeared in early Fantastic Four comics, and he had a really cool suit from Jack Kirby. And I think that might be an Easter egg or a reference. Like, they can't include different Spider-Man, but I think they can say they worked with like another web slinger or something like that. And we see a weird suit in the background.
He had a couple of suits, wasn't the...
He had the
wasn't-
webbing
yeah.
and
Was the...
the bombastic Bagman.
Yeah.
I hope he shows up. Like, they could show that. They could show, I mean, I know
that one
they
has
just
to be
had
like...
it in Across the Spider-Verse.
but that one has to be like, I wonder if you could, because of a Sony animation.
It's still a Fantastic Four suit, though.
If they just have, you're in a hallway, you see a bunch of suits for soups, and then you see that one just in
Yes.
the like a little canister. That's all I want.
We got to have that one. One of the most fascinating things they mentioned is that Agatha Harkness was originally introduced in Fantastic Four Comics number 84 as the governess to Franklin Richards. And then they made sure to include the fact that Franklin and Valeria Richards are their children. And I think we're going to see a young Franklin and young Valeria in this movie. So when they transfer over to the main MCU, those kids are going to be with them. And I think we're going to get a Franklin Richards and a Valeria Richards. Obviously, they got referenced in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
It's John Krasinski's kids. But yeah, so I think, but does that mean that we might see a Catherine Hahn cameo or just a different Agatha Harkness in this alternate reality?
I would love it to still be Catherine Hahn as Agatha, because that
She's
gives
always-
more reason to like, oh yeah, I forget that she's a witch. Like, it's like, oh, not even like to the degree of like, oh, this is because of chaos magic. It's just that like, yeah, she looks the same. She looks the same. It's a different woman,
Yeah.
but it's still Catherine Hahn's face. I also need them to start doing that in different universes. Have the people actually look different, because in not every universe are they going to look exactly the same. There's going to be some degrees, I think, that they're off.
Could it be something like in Multiverse of Madness, it was established that like in every universe, Wanda Maximoff looks the same because we had different universes with different Wandas. Could it be like certain sorcerers or sorceresses like Agatha and Wanda, while other people can look different in different realities, they look the same?
I would love that.
And I just bring up the Agatha Harkness of it all because, she was introduced as Catherine Hahn by Matt Shakman in WandaVision, and Matt Shakman is directing this Fantastic Four movie. So
He would keep her. He would make a way.
he
to
would
make it
love
work.
her. He'd bring her in. To wrap up this Fantastic Four conversation, it seems like the first act of this movie is going to catch us up with a lot of past Fantastic Four villains from throughout the decade of the 60s to kind of establish them as like known superheroes in this alternate reality. And I think that's how Mole Man is going to appear. I don't think he's going to be a major villain. If Pharaoh Rama Tut shows up, I think that will be the same way he shows up. But I want to ask you, is it possible that Galactus is just a throwaway character that they defeated in the opening act, and then there might be someone else in the rest of the movie?
I wanted to believe that we start like kind of how The Incredibles ends, and it's the Mole Man
Right.
being like, they're like, this is our everyday villain. Because also the 60s comics with Fantastic Four, the villains were so cartoony that I want them in their universe to be fighting like very easy villains, and then Galactus shows up and they're like, this is actually a threat.
Yeah.
We didn't know it gets this big, but we're still prepared. They're just not as prepared, and that's why he's going to take over the planet.
Yeah.
Or he's going to eat the planet.
I like the idea that like the movie will end with Galactus eating the planet.
I want it to end on a failure, because we
Yeah.
know they're going to get more movies, or they're going to show up in another property. So they're going to get another success story down the line, but you got to start them off losing. I want to see the Fantastic Four fail.
It sounds like their failure will be what directly sets up Avengers 5 and Avengers
Yeah.
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And that's going to be part of the multiverse saga. And that we're going like Deadpool and Wolverine will have a tease to it, but it's really those three movies are what Kevin Feige's most excited
You
for.
can't. Avengers and Fantastic Four are like going to be neighbors, or not even neighbors. They're like right next to each other, because those are two big teams.
Yeah.
Two big teams.
Big names.
Big name teams. And the Avengers will have theirs, and then we have the Fantastic Four. So it's like, yeah, they're going to coincide.
Okay, looking ahead to next week on New Rockstars, we have our House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3 breakdown coming coming out tomorrow on Monday, a very fun episode, and we have you covered with all the deeper, interesting layers of meaning and just some really, really great scenes in this episode. We have our breakdown of The Acolyte episode 6 coming out. I think, we have the 4th of July on Thursday, and we're taking that off as a company, but I think we might be able to get our Acolyte breakdown finished early, so maybe end of the day on Wednesday. If not, we'll have it scheduled for Friday morning for you to be able to watch before you go out and wave your sparklers around. I don't like fireworks because they scare my dog. And then Jessica's breakdown of The Boys episode 6 will, I think, be coming out early Friday.
Oh yeah, because the holiday, yeah.
Because of the holiday, but maybe we can get it out Thursday. We'll see, but it's coming. And great job on all those breakdowns, by the way.
Thank you.
You're crushing it.
They're gross.
There's a lot of gross stuff this
And I
season,
love
but
it.
that's what we love. All right, let's close out with what? Where? What? I can't go all the way around. There's a light there.
My legs are stuck. This is why we can't share a room.
This is why, yeah.
This is why we can't share a room. At San Diego Comic-Con, you're sleeping outside.
I'm going to draw a line down the middle of the circle.
And I get the bathroom side. I get the bathroom side, but you get the door side, so I can't leave.
I'm going to pee in the drawers.
What have I been watching? It's so funny because sometimes I watch new things just to be like, I need to change what I'm watching for what we're watching segment. But I started in this kind of, it's not corny to say. I was watching a bunch of like kind of horror shorts on YouTube. I've been every night just watching them just as they scroll. And I watched this one. It's not really a horror. It's just really sad. It's called The Vending Machine. And it's an animated short about a woman that works in a vending machine. And it's about like customer service and how we treat our customer service reps and demand everything from them. And also as a woman, how it's just like hard existing when you have to put on a smile for everything. And it's a sad short, but it's so beautifully drawn and written, and I love it.
I feel like I failed because didn't we say when the bear dropped, we would spend what we're watching talking about the bear, and I haven't seen
watched
it yet.
It came out in the middle of the week.
I know.
That's on John.
And I was busy traveling, and when we're shooting this right now, they're doing what's going to be an awful debate.
Weird drop for that show in the middle. It was like Wednesday or something. It dropped in, come on. Give it to me on a
And
Friday.
give it weekly. Don't drop it all at once.
I will watch one episode on Wednesday. I would have. But now that they're all there, I'm like, okay, Saturday.
So by next week, we will have watched episode 1. We'll talk about
100%.
that. Okay, we'll talk about that here. This week, I think all I've had time to watch, because I did a lot of traveling. I had to see family this past week. But I've been watching a lot of TikToks of just clips from Mad Men. That's all I get on my TikTok now. And I'm like,
when I get clips of Mad Men, I know that I need to go to bed. That's what I know I need to go to bed. I get clips of Mad Men all the time. And that's why I think you caught me when I was doing the like zooby zooby zoo.
Zooby zooby.
You're just going, and I'll go through and keep watching Mad Men clips or maybe we should just rewatch Mad Men.
Yeah, Pete Campbell. What a crazy. Oh, I'm going to make double that. He is just the biggest piece of shit, but has one of the best character arcs on any TV show ever. I hate his guts, but I love him.
Pete Campbell. I still hate Pete Campbell, dude. I will always hate Pete Campbell. He's also like supposed to be 22 in the show. I'm allowed to hate him.
He's a child. You don't know what you're doing, Lane Price. Or when he looks over into Lane's office and goes,
Can you actually have a favorite? My favorite character was Christina Hendricks' character.
Awesome
and she was still mean to people a lot of the time. And I remember being like, can you have a favorite character?
Yes, you can. And her name's Peggy Olson.
No, I don't like Peggy.
Because she's a tragic figure.
Oh my!
She comes in
but then she became
what she hated. But she and Joan represent the two different types of feminism. I'm explaining feminism, and I need to shut my mouth right now.
And this is when we knew we got too far.
And we went too far. This is right. But I don't think we can ever do breakdowns of Mad Men, unfortunately, because there's smoking in every shot, and YouTube doesn't want us to show smoking.
Oh, and not the immense homophobia, racism,
well, that
sexism, sexual assaults, everything else in that show.
Everything in that show.
Maybe we should do The Sopranos. Can we show guns?
I don't know. There's like a lot of violence on The Sopranos too.
There is.
There's a lot.
We'll do Sex in the City.
Yeah. Oh, hey, now you're talking. Comment down below with what you were watching this week and your thoughts on Fantastic Four. What is your favorite title coming up on Marvel's pipeline? Follow Jessica at Lulu_Clemons. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the New Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.